call the roll. Please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone with a cell phone, will you please either mute it or turn it off? Thank you. Approval of treasurer warrants for April 27th. Payroll warrant. I have a motion?
I move that we approve the payroll warrant for April 27th, 2018.
Second. All those in favor? 5-0. Accounts payable warrant for May 1st.
I move that we approve the accounts payable warrant of May 1, 2018.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Approval of the minutes for April 24th, 2018. Do we have any corrections, omissions?
Yes.
Yes, Ben.
Under 12, other board business, in the third paragraph where it says, Anderson said the revolving fund was never established. In parentheses, I think we should put rec department so at least we'll know what we're talking about.
Okay. Agreed.
That's it.
Any other corrections? You want to make a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. We have no special presentations, we have no committee appointments, no public hearings, so we're at the public comment section. At each regular selectmen meeting, there will be time devoted to any resident or taxpayer of the town of Wiscasset to address the selectmen regarding any item that is not on the agenda for that meeting. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. There'll be a 30-minute maximum. Does anybody have any public comment? Yes, Seaver.
Seaver Leslie, member of the Public Advisory Committee for the Downtown Project, DOT. It's become public knowledge that the MDOT project, based on the one single bid received, has a significant cost overrun of over $1.8 million. Can you, the board, assure the people of Wiscasset that this overrun will have no effect on the scope of the project and how it affects the town? If you do not know the answer to that question, can you assure the people of Wiscasset that you will provide the answer prior to signing any project agreement with the MDOT? And I think it's important that we get an answer to this time schedule as soon as possible.
Seaver, are you going to be at the meeting on May 7th? The PAC meeting?
PAC meeting on May 7th, I will be there.
Yeah, I bet you that would be a good time to ask.
I don't think we should wait a week for these answers. I think it's really important for the townspeople to know this information. I want to know if there'll be an impact on the town due to this cost overrun. Ultimately, the scope of the project needs to be seen by all the townspeople. So those are my basic questions, and I think it's important, and maybe we can get some answers before that meeting on the 7th. I think the DOT owes us some of these answers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Judy?
Yes, I'm sorry, Kathy.
I think this is a good question. Is there any way that Marion, can you contact DOT with this
Oh, certainly.
question, and maybe you will know even by the PAC meeting?
Yeah.
And if so, I will be at the PAC meeting because I belong to the PAC now, and I'm appointed to it. So if we have an answer, I will bring it. Is that okay?
Or I'd like to know beforehand if possible.
Thank you. No, we'll do our best.
Is there any project agreement, I know we talked about one a while ago, but so they have never,
We've signed nothing.
they've never, okay.
We haven't signed anything.
Good.
Could I
Thank you.
speak further?
Sure.
On this item? I wanted to bring it up, but I know last week the PAC committee was mentioned, and I thought about it. I know that you and Ben are both running for selectman, Jeff is not, and Catherine's already on the committee, and if the board would like to have two selectmen on that committee, I would be willing to do it.
Very good, because I was gonna say I would do it if nobody else wanted to. Because I had thought about it
I didn't get that
also.
sentence out.
You're wrong.
That is very good. Then we can appoint,
I'll second that.
all right, all those in favor?
You don't need it.
Okay,
You just can
you're on.
consensus.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
This is more of a question than a comment. It's about the protocol of executive session meetings, or whatever you call them. Are you not supposed to talk about specifically and only the reason that you gave for having an executive session?
Yes.
Yes. And if you don't, and you say go off the rails more or less and just have a gab fest, would you characterize that as illegal? Would the Maine Municipal Association characterize that as illegal?
I can certainly ask that question. I'm not an attorney, so.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Yes, Kim?
First of all, I want to address that one. So as the town manager, you're not aware of protocol for executive sessions? You would need to speak with MMA or attorneys to find that out?
He asked me if something was illegal. I am not an attorney, that's correct.
Would it have been inappropriate? Would it have been inappropriate?
Would what have been inappropriate?
If an executive session had gone off, as I think he worded it, gone off the rails and became a gab fest.
Yes.
So what I wanted to ask about, you said that nothing had been signed, so the letter of intent that was dated October 31st, 2016 was never signed?
No, I believe Seaver's question was, had a project agreement been signed? And we haven't gotten that far yet. So we have not signed that.
Okay, but you have signed the letter of intent that was dated October 31st, 2016?
Yes.
Okay, so in that letter of intent, it does say that prior to finalizing the contract bid documents, the department and the municipality will execute a municipal state project agreement to address the cost of any additional work and future maintenance of the project-related improvements. This project has already gone out to bid.
Well, I think because of the lawsuit, which is only my speculation, I think some of that has been put off to the wayside. Now that the lawsuit is dismissed, I think we can get back on track. And I think the PAC meeting and MDOT and the town talking is going to help it get us where, and I agree, this is what we need to look at. But it's only been, what, not even 2 weeks? 2 weeks today since we had the vote. It's only been since Friday that it was filed with the court. So I think we have to give ourselves a little bit of time.
I'm not certain that that the lawsuit would have rendered all previous signed documents null and void.
It wouldn't, but we would not be able to speak to MDOT regarding anything, nor would they be speaking to us.
But your attorneys would have been speaking to them.
As
and
far
they
as I
were.
know, that was not in their discussion.
Okay, so, I mean, they have, by this agreement, MDOT has not done, they have not followed the letter of this intent. So,
Well, that I think you would have to take that up with MDOT. No, I don't, I would say no, they haven't, but.
okay. They also say in this in this letter of intent that they will hold a formal public meeting prior to finalizing the project design. They did not do that. When they were here in October, they also said that they would be back for a final public meeting. Seems to me
I can't say that they have done a final design either.
it
I
went
don't
out
know.
to bid.
I understand that, but we have
How
not
could
seen
it not
it.
be final?
I
I've
don't
seen
know.
it, go online, it's on the MDOT, or it's on the government site, on the MDOT's website. You can look at all the plans, you can read the entire, someone couldn't bid on it unless they saw the details of the plan.
All right, but I think that the discussion is because of the lawsuit that had a lot of detail, that a lot of things were not done, that did not went to the lawyer, we were not informed.
Okay, I'm just pointing out that if this was a signed document and you tell me that it was, that MDOT has not followed the spirit of this or the letter of this
Okay.
agreement. Also, I would also suggest that asking Ernie Martin at a PAC what is going to happen is probably not the right person to ask, because when Ernie Martin is asked questions of that sort, Ernie Martin's answer is, I hear you. I will take that back to Augusta and I'll let you know.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Chrissy Swartz, Wiscasset. So I just want to understand from all that just happened, then we have not signed this letter so we don't understand what the project agreement is. The select board has
We have
not
not
signed.
signed one,
Okay.
no.
So can I be assured that you as in the select board will come to the residents of Wiscasset then and share with us whatever this project agreement is before you sign it?
Yes, we would have to, definitely.
Okay, and do you have that on a schedule, like coming up, that when you're going to start looking into this?
As far as I know, MDOT hasn't contacted us.
Can we make it a point to contact them this week so that next select board meeting, we know what's going on?
Yes, we will do that.
All right, that's great. Then I have another question just about, the issue of parking. Of course, I have a question. Where is the parking allowed during this summertime construction? I mean, where exactly is parking going to be allowed? Because I'm not clear where that is. And where is it not going to be allowed? Because I understand there's all the talk that there's some streets you can't park on and there's some places you can park but you can't. So do we know where we can and cannot park? And are you going to put that in the, I don't know, online or something so people know?
Yes.
Is that going to be soon?
I think that's going to be at the PAC meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
So everything's happening at the PAC.
It is a lot. Yep.
But that PAC meeting is not open to everybody.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
of course it
It's a
is.
public
Oh, I
meeting.
thought it
It's
was
especially
group of-
open to everybody.
Oh, all right.
It's a public meeting.
I wasn't
Encouraged to
aware of that. I
attend.
thought it was just a group that was
No.
selected.
No,
Excuse me? It is.
it's a public meeting and all citizens of Wiscasset are welcome to attend.
Oh, see, I missed that. Okay, thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
When you do all this finalization and everything, can you assure us where they will be parking all of their equipment? Because I know that last year when the water department was working, and they parked all their stuff down off of 4 towards White's Island, wasn't really resident friendly. So if we could avoid them you know, because I know that the code says you can start at 7 a.m., but I'm not sure that those codes apply to MDOT. So we would like to have assurance that that area won't be taken. But we would like to know where they would be parking their equipment.
All right, I'm sure it'll probably be down on Railroad Avenue, but we will make sure to ask.
And will those people over on Water Street be aware of that ahead of time?
So they can go in.
Where on Water Street are you?
Well, I mean, like Water Street and Railroad Ave are kind of, you know, parallel to each other, and I'm sure that I know I can hear the back up beeps of trucks that, you know, they may want to be aware of the noises that they're going to be hearing throughout the night and early mornings.
Jennifer?
I would think that when we reach this point, or before we reach this point about where you can park, et cetera, we will know enough ahead of time so that we can inform everybody, via the press, or however we want to do it, that this is what's going to happen and this is where you can park and where you can't. And hopefully everybody who will needs to know,
we will get out to you.
Okay.
So,
And you were saying that the parking was bad down by the footbridge? Is that what you?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean,
Will you be here Monday?
maybe.
Okay. Or if not, Catherine, just pass along to Ernie. I didn't know that, so that's good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jorge Peña, President of Wisconsin. On behalf of the Maynard Gallery, used to change the topic for one day.
If you're going to talk about the signs?
No, I'm going to talk
Okay.
about something else. I would like to invite the whole board and the citizens here present to attend the youth art exhibit that involves schools from here, from this town, and from the county. And I think that all of you should support those young people which are representing this town through the arts. So I think that you should come. It opens this coming Saturday, and I think you should also come and see our next exhibits from May through September of this year. So all of you are welcome to come. And
where is this going to attend?
in the Maynard Gallery, which is the Academy building.
Here in
Yes.
Wisconsin. Okay.
What time?
Pardon me?
What time?
At the time will be from 3 o'clock to 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question. I noticed that the PAC meeting isn't listed on here. So could you tell us when it is, where it is, and what time it is?
It'll be Monday night here, the 7th of May, at 5 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
5?
5 o'clock, yes.
Thank you.
Do you want, can I give this one? You have lots of.
All right, anyone else for public comment? If not, we're going to close it and go on. We have no department head or committee chair. Unfinished business. Central Lincoln County ambulance proposal. Warren Waltz. Mr. Waltz?
Welcome, Warren. Before Warren starts his presentation, I just want to clarify something. There's been a little conversation that's gotten back to me out in the community. CLC was here by invitation of the Board of Selectmen. They weren't poaching, as one gentleman asked me. So I just want to make that clear to everyone that through the budget process, we had conversations. Some of you that were present at the budget meetings may remember some of the board's conversations. And so I just really want to make it clear that they are here by invitation. Mr. Waltz.
Sounds good, thank you. Thanks for inviting me over tonight and the work we've been doing over the last 4 months. I think you had indicated that you really wanted some questions answered. There was the opportunity to answer some questions, so I'm not sure what part of the proposal you're looking for a presentation or how much. I don't think we have like details finalized or a contract to offer or anything like that. But
So Warren, can we talk a little bit about the proposal that you submitted, and when you met with Bob and I, we talked about, and correct me if I have any of the numbers wrong, $175,000 cost to the town of Wiscasset to have your presence of, the presence of CLC here in our community. And can you talk a little bit about what the service would look like?
Sure. The $175,000 just comes from basically the operational costs. Trying to boil down equipment costs. I think we offered a proposal at the time we talked about spending, I think it was $100,000 for a newer ambulance, assuming that, it's not gonna, you're putting a lot into this if we go forward. Just trying to get a creative way to get that back to you. So we anticipated like $50,000 over 2 years, bringing down to $125. Just figuring that we would need to replace one or the other of the ambulances, probably at the end of the 2 years. We envision talking that we would just try to build a system and come in and meet the needs of the people here in the town of Wiscasset. Certainly receptive to any input. We want to be a working partner on work for you and with you. We would be based, I think we talked about terms being right here in the existing station. Obviously, we would respond similarly. We would certainly transport to Midcoast Hospital. We would run the community paramedicine program with us. We talked about having a representative join our board meetings. I think to get this off the ground, it's probably going to take, a good 2 years to just kind of get a baseline, and that's why I proposed 2 years. I'm not opposed to longer or shorter. Whatever kind of really fits or works. I think, it would take us probably 2 years to figure out, where we're at. First year, get up and running and get everything going. And the second year, just kind of get it evens out a little bit. And then if we can certainly do it cheaper or ask for less money from the town of Wiscasset to support it, we would. I think it's going to take a little bit to build it up, to get it working, to start seeing some of the cost benefits from our existing operation to yours. The last thing I think that anybody in Wiscasset wants to do is put money in that's going to subsidize our operation that's already going. The same way as the organization that we have now can't really afford to charging only $3,000 to make a working ambulance service in your town. But once we get it going and rolling, I'm pretty confident that we probably could get the cost lower than the one would be $125. There's an ambulance on the table after the 2 years.
Does the board members have any questions? Are there any questions from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, how is your service different from what we receive already?
Different. One of the biggest differences I could point to is that we're a nonprofit service. Our goal is obviously to take care of people to the best of the ability that we can. We strive to have high quality service to people that we take care of. And so with that, I think the money that we have, it takes care of all of our expenses, but we're not, in business to make money for profit. We're not taking on anything that we can't do. We're trying to be responsible. A variety of things from ALS response, emergency, which is very similar to things. We do a lot of transfers that helps within money. Talked about, and then obviously through experience and overall work, we have a pretty good product that serves the town well.
Where are the ambulance coming from, originating from? If I was calling and needed service tonight, where is that ambulance coming from?
If we're working together, from right here.
Oh, so it will.
The ambulances would be housed here, is that correct?
Correct.
We'd have our own team here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no way for us to cover your town in a responsible manner from Remuscata. We would absolutely need to have a presence here, and we can discuss that a little bit with Mayor and Bobby.
Now, what happens if at the end of 2 years, Wiscasset decides that they don't want to renew the contract with CLC? What happens to the ambulances and everything?
Well, we talked about purchasing one as an alternative. So if we purchase that over 2 years, that would be ours. I'm sure we could figure out a way to get it back to you if that was the case. And whatever happens with the other one, I'm not sure. I would assume that it would revert back to the town along with all the other equipment that you're entertain that.
Pam, you had a question?
Yeah, I mean, last week we were just introduced to a brand new ambulance outside. Would you want to use our new one? Or do we have to go and get 2 new ones? I mean, what kind of expense this is gonna be? Sure, the auditors would also be happy to know as well. I, as a taxpayer, would like to know.
Right, so we envision not charging, more money for more ambulances. So we can either work a deal that incorporates what we have currently, go forward. One of the proposals is that we pay the town back for the $100,000 which is in the purchase price. Another proposal is you take it, sell it, we'll keep it whatever you want, and we won't use it. We'll bring one with us, and it works on the over $100,000.
Okay, also, what about the ambulance and EMS that we already have? Would they be working with you?
Well, we would envision that it would be one company, so sure, anybody would be free to apply. Go forward.
Yes, Jason?
I just wanted to ask, you said you're a nonprofit, our ambulance crew isn't a profit-seeking company. We're nonprofit as well, this is a town ambulance, right? Right, okay. Just checking, because you said that was the difference.
Yeah.
My apologies for not fully understanding the background of my question, but I know that there has been some discussion here about it not too far in the future that we may have to build a larger building to house our ambulances. Is that something that applies here?
That was a conversation that had been had, but we have reached out to vendors and they have assured us that they have ambulances that will fit in our facility. We are not the only community in Maine that has an older brick structure, and probably Toby could explain what the differences in those are, but it had to do with the chassis and whether they're getting longer and all that sort of thing. But not to say that it would never have to happen, but we've been assured that there are ambulances that would meet our needs into the near future. Lauren, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you've given me a board and a beautiful model facility that would certainly fit the needs and work well into the
Yes, sir.
What kind of staffing is this?
Initially, we budgeted to have 2 full-time people, one either BLS or ALS and one paramedic, 24/7. Our hopes that we can build from a call in reserve to add, the staffing for more. We have several people that currently work for us all over the town who express interest in working here in the station and being available nights. We have budgeted to add extra staff during kind of peak times, 4th of July, if needed, right here at the station. So.
And on the ambulances, I believe that new ambulances wouldn't fit in our building, so that you'd have to get older ones.
I think it really comes down to the type and your preference. We have small ones that we utilize that quite sure will fit perfectly in the base that it does now. If you have a different use for a bigger or larger one than the other ones, then maybe not. What you have now for the new one certainly will work, and the older one, and what we currently have certainly will work.
Yes.
So you said originally you might only have 2 people staffing here in the beginning. Where would a second truck come from in the event of a second call?
If we can't muster a call-in crew from on-call list, then we come from our station in Youngstown.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You said 2 staff on duty. Do we currently have 2 or 3 people on duty?
I believe, Toby, you have 2?
We have 2 currently right now, but it's budgeted for 3.
Okay.
We have volunteers in the community too that will respond to second calls. You have
still have volunteers here.
So I think some of the concern is the fact that, I think one question I have is, we have our staffing now, is that going to change through CLC? Or will we have the same amount of staff?
I would hope it would have at least the same, if not more.
Okay. Okay. Bob, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I don't have a question, but I'm fortunate enough to have a copy of COC's proposal here, and a lot of the questions are answered. I don't think there's been any change, and it is very clear that the ambulance that we just purchased, we have two choices. We can sell it to CLC for just what we paid for it, get our money back, or we could retain it and sell it if we chose. They've offered that. And what you end up with is the same ambulances in the same building, responding from the same place, and probably staffed with a lot of the same people. What you don't have is you don't have to worry about contracts with other communities. You don't have to worry about writing off bad debt, which we've talked about a bunch of times. We don't do any administrative. It's all handled by COC, and it's all for less money. So.
Oh, the uncollectibles through CLC, would the town be responsible for that amount of money?
No, that's part of it.
That's part of it. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to respond to Bob. You say it's all for less money, but it's also for less service. If we're going from 3 providers to 2 providers being on duty there instead.
But we have 2 now, and they're willing to provide 2. Besides that, they back themselves up with their own ambulances instead of us having to go pay another communities to supply us a backup ambulance, as we do now.
Does anybody else have any questions? Does the board? Yes.
As an outsider and listening to the calls for service, I have no skin in the game, but I can assure you that there are multiple calls throughout the week that a second call for service comes out through our EMS. And the police department responds to get there to assist what we can do and wait for another injury. I literally jumped on and drove a second truck, assisting them when I'm here. And I don't know how our insurance would handle that. If one of our personnel was able to drive, I don't know how we could do that with them.
Very good point.
The only thing I can tell you is that we work with 7 other towns. When the occasion does happen, and we use any number of firemen, law enforcement from Lincoln County have all aided us in the time of need, which is a very critical emergency ongoing at that moment. So.
Anyone else? Does the board have any more questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the audience should be aware that the reason we asked Mr. Waltz to come and give us the presentation is to kind of share with you information that we had already in our talks with him. But as personally, I think of the taxpayers, and I also think of good ambulance service. We all want good ambulance service. But there's an awful lot of cost involved in having good ambulance service, and we felt that it was appropriate to look at all of the options. This is nothing to say that we are going to do this or we aren't going to do it, but that's why we asked him to come tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was great. Okay, shall we continue the audit update? Mary?
So we've had many discussions on the town's audit and the delay. Last meeting we had some conversation about having to ask the Department of Education for an extension. And so instead of you listening to me and Bernice, at your request, we invited Bill Brewer and Fred Brewer here to talk with you this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
I'll start. Bill Brewer. We appreciate the opportunity to provide monitoring services to town of Wiscasset. We have not totally completed it yet. Our intention is to meet with Marion one more time and go through the special revenue funds and the cap reserve funds and make suggestions on which ones should be addressed and do we have everything in the correct format. And we have talked to Denise again tonight before the meeting started. A preliminary departmental schedule is sitting in front of you right now. I don't think you want us to spend a lot of time talking about it and stretching out the selectmen's meeting. So if you want to just take a look quickly, it shows you the different departments that you have, forecasted revenues on the first page, and then individual breakdowns starts after that on each individual department, whether it's the police department, transfer station, the rec center. And if you have any specific questions, if you could kind of get them to Mary so she can get them to us and we can resolve it all up front. Our intention before we start talking tonight is to give you some timeline as to when we want and would request probably a workshop with the Board of Selectmen to go through the audit, because I think it probably would take quite a bit of time to clarify your questions and also give a little accounting education so that we're all on the same page. So I'll let Fred talk for a couple minutes.
Well, this sheet that I kind of handed out to all of you is a summary of your budget. So it's a lot of the stuff that you should have kind of seen before, but it's summarized in a little bit different manner, so it's horizontally based. So I'll look at interest on property taxes. I mean, that first line was $91,000 in revenue that you took in, and at the town meeting, we said we're going to take in about $49,000. So you look at it and you get that unexpended column, so that's what is going into your unexpended fund balance or surplus. So we can go through this, but it's a lot easier if you kind of take it home, put it underneath your pillow and look it over.
Looking at all these figures, can you tell me right today what is our fund balance?
Undesignated?
Yeah.
It's about the same as it was at the beginning of last year.
That's not giving me an answer.
Well, go ahead. It started out at what, 679,000 last year? Yeah. And you took out 600 for the commitment. I'm talking to Denise tonight. She looks at it differently than your question. She wants to know how much is left, and you're thinking about someplace around 31,000, is that correct?
38 is what it was that was totally undesignated.
Undesignated.
Because they had designated the 600 to use for tax reduction.
So going into next year, there's about $37,000 because you've already used some of it to offset the taxes for this year's commitment.
So in order to make apples and apples compare, if I take the beginning one and I take off the 600, someplace around 70, right? So it's gone from 70 down to about 40.
That's what I'm trying to get at. When we start committing this year, our taxes, what do we have for fund balance? Are you telling me?
Well, the hard part is being
we have nothing?
Well, the hard part is you're a June year end, so you're doing your budgets now.
Right.
So you haven't actually completed the fiscal year.
But they aren't going to commit taxes until September.
Right. Can I finish my speech? Because I'll get to that point. As a June year end, you're doing your budgets now. So you're getting approval from the taxpayer in May for what you're gonna assess for taxes in August. So when you close the year end, and that's what I went through with Marion, we looked at the departments and we said, okay, we think there's gonna be about 600 and, what did I say, 640 at the end of the day for surplus. So that's what you have available to reduce taxes.
So on June 30th, I want to make sure I understand what you're asking, telling me. So on June 30th, when we close the books for this year, you're saying that we're going to have like $600,000 in there to use to lower the taxes? Is that?
No, see, you're combining the 2 years into one. Because this year that we're doing the audit for, you've already taken some money out to reduce the taxes that were committed in this fiscal year that you're in now.
Okay.
So when you subtract that off, it's about $37,000.
Okay.
So then you're gonna go through this fiscal year that you're in now, and you'll have budgets that, you know, looking at this sheet, you get interest on property taxes. So that added $43,000 to your surplus.
But this is last year.
This is last year's information, so you've got to get through this year.
Alright.
In a perfect world, our audit will be done end of August, 1st of September this year, so that we know what your fund balance is before you commit taxes.
Well, that's putting us in a very bad position at this point, as far as I'm concerned, that we're not going to know what we have for fund balance when we go to commitment.
I just say you hopefully will have it before you go to commitment.
And whose responsibility is it to get it to us?
I think you have a much stronger person financially who understands how all the numbers work and are correlated.
Okay.
And I think the accumulation of that information will be much easier this year.
Once I have good numbers to begin with, which is what we need to get this finished for.
Okay, because I don't want to see a repetition of what happened last year, of where we committed and then had to come back and change it again. I don't want that to happen again this year.
As long as we get this audit finished, and then we know where we stand at June 30th of this year.
Okay.
When I met with Bernice, what was it, Tuesday?
Last week.
Last week on Tuesday. We went through and explained all of the different balance sheet accounts.
So when are you going to finish this audit? When will we have a finished audit?
Our goal is by the next selectmen's meeting to have something for you.
I can write that down? Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
In a little presentation, I think.
We meet Thursday.
We meet Thursday. I think it's more like the 15th of May, I think. That's our next
2 weeks.
And maybe the correct answer is to schedule a workshop and do it, because I think there's a lot of things that should be covered. And I think instead of feeding it all to Marion and then she feeds it to you, that you have an opportunity to participate in the conversation and clarify the issues as we go.
I usually like that format because it gives us a way to discuss how the financial statements work. Because as a board of selectmen, I don't think you're alone in any of the other towns that we do. No one has a financial background. No one has an accounting degree. So they're sitting there going, wow, this
What's
is
the
great.
bottom line?
Yeah, I mean,
I do have a
yeah. Judy asks a question that is asked pretty regularly.
But
What is the bottom line? How much do I have
In her defense,
left?
Fred, Ben and I were told figures, and what it was, from my standpoint, I was extremely embarrassed. My phone rang constantly, you said, you know, and that's what the auditor said, you have this money, and that's why Judy keeps asking you guys, you know, we just don't want, you know, that again.
Yeah, no, and it's important because it's what's left at the end of the day.
You know, I understand, you know, this is new, we're new to your company.
And everybody, all auditors have a different style in the way that they do things.
Because I know I've asked Bernice more than once What do we got in the bank? How
We
much?
know
do we-
that, 'cause the fund balance is going up.
How much we got in the bank? Okay, so we're talking at least the next selectmen's meeting. But you also would like to have a workshop before then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, either schedule it that day or schedule sometime after the 15th.
Okay.
So, looking at your agenda, I really don't want to bore the people sitting behind me talking about accounting terminology.
We're not bored.
You have to be more
It's their
clear.
tax dollars, footing the bill.
Okay, so you're gonna present the budget, you're gonna present
We'll,
the
we'll,
audit on the 15th.
we'll talk to Marion and see what conclusion you come to about how you want to handle a workshop on it.
Okay, but you want the workshop after you present your final numbers to us, is that what you're saying?
I think we'll probably do both at the same time.
Okay. All right.
And it's not a case of trying to get information from the public, it's just a case of, I think, it's important that you understand what we did and why we have to do things that you don't want us to do. And we had a conversation tonight with Denise on the retired health insurance issue. And she's talking to Community Insurance Trust tomorrow and Wayne Curtis tomorrow to get it clarified.
Okay.
So there's a lot of issues out there that are forced on the town that you have to be aware of and be able to answer the question, but when it comes down to the day-to-day operation, you can just ignore it.
I just want to make sure that we give you enough time to be able to get us up to speed on the audit and where we go from here. That's my concern. I want to make sure we give you enough time. Jason, you have a question?
Yes, Fred, I wondered if you could shed any light on whether or not the town, we're going, whether or not the town owes the school $1.1 million.
There is
Or where that money was, or maybe shall be in the future.
The 1.1 is called a due-to-due fund.
A what?
A due-to-due fund.
IOU.
It's essentially, because the way that you operate is, you operate similar to an RSU. And they just cut you a check every month and put it into your account. And then that's the annual assessment. So divided by 12, send a $500,000 check every month. And somewhere along the way, one of those, or two of those checks didn't get processed. So there's that 1.1 that's out there. It's not that you don't have it in your fund balance, it's just not in your checkbook physically.
So where is it then? And so you admit, you're saying that there is $1.1 million out there somewhere. The town appropriated, but the school did not receive. So where is it now? They don't have $37,000.
Most of our school departments operate differently than the way that you guys do it. They look at it and say, the town is this big entity and you're a department within the town. So the town holds the cash, but the fund balance itself is restricted for these schools' use.
That's not really how it's being done now, though. We actually cut a check to the school.
Right.
This happened prior to.
Yes.
Right, we know this is old house cleaning that needs to be
Yes.
done. No one's blaming anybody, but the fact is, nobody will say where or where it is not. Where is the money? They have it or they don't have it. Everybody's been confused for 2 years at least.
Well, and you're looking at one piece of the overall town. So the town operates out of one checking account. So they pay the ambulance service, they pay the police department, they pay the firefighters, all that stuff. School is just like all the other ones, they're a department within the overall town. So the cash flows back and forth. So they report the school's cash balance on their trial balance and in the audit. But it's essentially it's sitting in the general checkbook and it just needs to be moved over to the school checking account for the way you guys operate.
But Fred, we haven't reconciled the numbers.
No, I mean, it's.
I think that's important for Jason to hear. We're not agreeing that it's 1.1 million.
Well,
We
years
agree
ago,
that,
Mary-
we agree that there is a number, but the two auditors don't even agree on what it is. So, and I don't want to debate it with him this
No, I
evening.
understand, I don't want to debate it
But I
either.
mean, we agree that there is something that needs to happen, but I don't want it to get out in the paper that the town agrees they owe the school 1.1 million, because I don't believe that's what you said. I just want to.
The money is in a due from, so we're.
They owe us $1.1 million.
Yes.
I mean, you gotta say it yes or no, I mean, this.
How about we have an answer on the 15th?
There you go.
How about we have an answer on the 15th?
Jason, does the school need a check?
No.
Sure.
No.
No, listen, this is all town business. You can laugh at me if you want, but this has gotta be resolved, you know?
I agree.
It's looking in your audit, there was an extra $130,000 that was transferred, that was in the fund balance as a restricted amount. In my eyes, that was trying to pay that money back.
Well, Mary,
Well, I think
So,
we have to let the auditors do their work at this point in time and come back on the 15th, and hopefully we will have some type of an answer. Now, you have also looked at the school audit, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep,
to reconcile all the numbers.
I've looked at it, yes.
Okay.
So,
So do you think on the 15th, we would have some type of an answer to that particular problem from 2 years ago?
I'd like to talk to Bernice about it.
I think we need to clarify. I mean, we
Yeah.
definitely need to resolve it. Please don't think we're not
oh, I know,
going to
this is,
resolve
like I
it.
said, this is an ongoing saga.
I
It's
understand
not
that.
personal to anybody here, but a year ago, Marion agreed, well, we did come up with a number exactly, but agreed to start paying back hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that did happen. It just, that died somewhere along the line. So there was some commitment to paying back some sum of money.
So once we establish
We
what
don't
that
know what that number
sum
is.
of money is, then we'll take it to the board for the board's decision as to how it gets handled from there. If and when we know it, we should know. Before you bring this back to the select meeting on the 15th, you should have an answer to that, yes.
We've got a lot of
We know there's a
information
to
already.
do from there. We just need to, I think we need to go back a little further to make sure that that has carried forward properly, and that there hasn't been money that should have been or could have been transferred that wasn't. And to be able to justify and substantiate that number totally and go from there.
Okay, that sounds good. At least we can get some type of a decision on that.
Yes.
Thank you for Bernice. But that's what we have to do. So, any other questions regarding the audit? Ben?
Yeah. The debt service, which is the withdrawal loan with the school, we appropriated $228,000, which I thought was what we were supposed to pay every year.
Yep.
But it says we only paid out $59,000, and we're carrying $169,000 in that account from last year.
Yep.
Why didn't we pay the 228?
Which page are you on, Ben?
The final page, third one up, debt service.
That's a very good question.
It seems cut and dry.
If we're raising $228,000, why aren't we paying the full amount?
I didn't do any of the work in this year, but we'll
Yeah.
research it.
Please.
The best I can
Because
do.
looking at the detail of that account, there was only, one posting to it, or two?
That looks like the interest is what
Yeah.
it looks like.
Yeah.
right?
Looks
But
like
the
it was
payment
an
was
interest
made, the bank would be called when they
Yeah.
didn't make the payment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing with,
Every quarter.
Yes.
and the other thing is, some of your other debt service isn't in that debt service line, it's above it in the TIF, because you have, some loan payments that come out of the TIF.
But that's a specific account
Yeah.
for a specific loan.
Yep.
Yes, we'll research it, Ben,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else?
See you in 2 weeks, don't be late.
We'll see you, no, we're gonna see you
We'll see you
before
before,
2
yes.
weeks. We'll give him 2 weeks, he needs to come and finish this first.
I'll leave that to you, Frankie.
You betcha.
I still welcome calls.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, new business. Brownfield Grant Award.
So, obviously, thanks to our newspaper's good reporting and the announcement by the EPA, this is sort of old news, but it is in the Selectmen's packet. There is our letter from David Lloyd, the Director of the Office of Brownfields. The town of Wiscasset was successful in obtaining a grant for $400,000 for 4 specific sites at the Mason Station lot. I want to be sure to thank the Lincoln County Planning Commission. A lot of you don't know this, but the night the grant was due, we worked until 10:30 that night, and without their help, I would not have been able to complete the grant all by myself. So I thank you to Mary Ellen and to Harold for staying up at night with me. So the next step for the Brownfield grant, just so that folks understand, is it's obviously a federal grant. There's quite a process involved. We will be having a meeting with the EPA. They don't mail us a check. It doesn't work that way. There's a bid process. We have to go out to bid for the work, and then we submit bills and get reimbursed. And and it is specific to the 4 lots that we applied for, 2 of which were the ash ponds that are located at the Mason Station site. So if anybody is interested in reading the grant application, it's only about this thick, but you're welcome to read it. I do have it available. So,
Thank you. Okay, peer vendor permit applications, 2 Bridges Regional Jail and Wiscasset Chamber of Commerce. Jeff, you want to take both together?
Yes, please.
Make that a motion?
I'd like to, yes, take both.
Okay. All those in favor? Bob, did you?
Are we voting to take these together?
Yes. You don't want to vote to take them
Well,
together?
the Chamber of Commerce is asking to do it for free, and the jail is paying.
I think we've always let the Chamber of Commerce do it.
Correct.
Free.
It's our Chamber of Commerce. Wiscasset.
For a number of years ago, we waived the fee.
We waived the fee for the Chamber of Commerce.
What's our jail?
Saginaw County too.
Well, I know, but then not everybody that belongs to the Chamber of Commerce comes from Wisconsin. I mean, I guess I don't see the difference in.
They're promoted in Wisconsin, right?
Correct.
Yes.
All of our businesses.
Yes. So you have something?
If you have a question, I can tell you a little about our thought process. In the past, we have waived the fee for the Chamber of Commerce building, and we also waived the electricity, and they do use electricity while they're down there. And they also clean porta potties when they can. So this year we decided to ask them for money for the electrical and for a sign panel that hopefully will go up by Route 1. And we do think because they provide a service to all of Wiscasset, and the fee. That's why we recommended that the fee be waived.
So, you're waiving the fee, but not the charges?
Correct.
I understand, okay.
Any more questions, Bob? Okay, shall we try voting again? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, are we voting to take them together?
Yes.
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to approve them now? I thought we did.
Was your vote to take them together to
It's
also
approved.
approve them?
Yes.
It was approved, yeah.
So 4-1.
Yes,
Just
Judy.
approved them?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was just to take them together.
I did too, frankly.
Yeah,
It was
but
to
I
let
voted,
them
can
together.
I have
Can you have a minute?
yes on it? I do believe that the chamber waives the town's fee for being a member of the chamber. I think that was what we had done, and I think we still do that. Is that correct, Mary?
I believe so. Thank you. Okay, monthly financials, HM Payson statement.
If you have any comments, be your last chance.
It's in a lot better shape than I expected it to be with the downturn, so it's well protected.
Any questions? No questions?
I'm
Yes.
curious what the number is, Jeff.
It is, boy, doing it quick, Jason, it looks like 14,500,000. It's down about 500,000. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not.
14 million is a lot?
Excuse me?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I wouldn't want to be down 500,000. A portfolio this size is, you know what I mean?
That's great.
It's online also, it's with the documents for the town, it's online.
It is online?
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Correspondence from the First Congressional Church.
Just wanted to share with the board and the members of our community, we received a thank you from the Congregational Church for the use of the town pier for their Easter community sunrise service that's open to the community. So they sent a thank you. Just wanted to share that with the board.
The main art gallery request to place signage for art show.
Yes, my name is Christine Lovett, and I'm representing the nonprofit Main Art Gallery. We would like to get approval to put temporary signs at various places throughout the community prior to our shows. As Jorge said, we've got 4 shows coming up this summer. I was wondering if we could get approval for all of them, if I give you the dates.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Exactly.
You know,
I'd like to have the dates, just in case
yeah.
somebody asks me.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve it. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
I just didn't want you to come up and, because I could see your hands going, that we were going to approve it, so.
Okay, town manager's report.
Again, I know this is old news, but when we put the packets together, it wasn't. You have in your packet the documents that were filed with the court at the direction of the Board of Selectmen to dismiss the lawsuit. These documents are also posted on the town's website, and they are also attached to the packet for anybody that wants to read them. So those are there for your information. Again, I know it's old news, but it was not old when we put it all together. So also, I put in your packet, Ben had asked about the other lawsuit that is still going on, to which we are named a party of interest. And he had asked, actually, good question about what have we done and what will happen if we do nothing on this particular lawsuit. And so I received a response from Asha Echevarria, who's our legal counsel with Bernstein Shore, that is handling the Wallanock LLC versus MDOT with the town of Wiscasset named as a party of interest. And what she explained was that in its first amended complaint, the plaintiff, 3 private landowners, made several allegations related to the town that, if accepted by the court as true, could affect the town's rights and interests in the future. She goes on to say what those statements were, but it's pretty much what they had stated in their documents. So, Ben, thank you for that question, and I hope this helps. And then she outlined what all the responses had been. The ones in yellow are the ones where we were required to make an entry of appearance. We do not have any plan to participate in the May 15th oral argument that's scheduled before the law court. So I don't think there's any need unless the board feels differently about it. It's not our argument, so we don't plan to spend any money on it unless directed otherwise. We'll continue to monitor the litigation, only to protect the town's rights and interests. Other than that, we don't have any plans to respond.
Thank you.
Yes, Kim?
Did you say that well, first of all, is that document online as well?
No, I just received this, so I just
but
got it.
you'll put it up?
I can.
Great.
I can email it to you, and do whatever you want.
All right.
I've been saying you could have mine too.
Yeah.
Kim.
I have mine, I have one of mine.
I might not, I mean, that'd be great, I'll take it before I leave, but I might not be the only person in the
Oh,
entire
absolutely.
town
No.
that would like to see it. So, is that, or is that document and what you were just saying, that your attorney at Bernstein Shore advised you from the beginning that the town needed to be an active participant?
I'm not going to try to paraphrase. I read exactly what she wrote.
Okay.
So that's my only comment to that. You're welcome to read it. Nope, that's it.
I was just gonna ask, when you last spoke, did you say that we was not going to participate in this anymore, that it was essentially over as far as we was concerned?
We are not going to participate in the oral argument before the law court on May 15th. I believe once the oral argument is done, then it's in the judge's hands, so there wouldn't be anything else to do.
So there would be no further cost?
I don't believe so.
It's essentially gonna come to an end for us.
As of May 15, yes.
Well, she states
Just a
in here.
follow-up question, I guess.
No, she says in here, if the law court denies the appeal, which is May 15th, then that should end this litigation and the matter will be fully resolved, and that's when it would end, unless he decides, I assume, to appeal.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask, if this was to get appealed again, would we have to do exactly what we just got done doing, or can we just rest?
I think to keep the way I'm taking this, to keep our interest, to protect us, we would have to be at least in the conversation, not necessarily going into the court, but at least in the conversation.
We don't take an active role in this, Bob. We only respond when the court requires a response from the town. There are a lot of documents that are going back and forth between Wallanock and MDOT. We don't participate in that. We get copies of them all, but we don't participate in that.
Does the court actually require or request that we make some response in some instances?
Only on those that were highlighted in yellow were the only times we were required to respond. So when we required an answer, like when they did interrogatories and a production of public documents, we had to produce those things and participate in that process because we had a book in the vault that they wanted copies of, and we had to attest to it. And there were some records that only the town had because they're town records, so we had to produce those. But we're not involved in their
day-to-day operations.
Their day-to-day things. We're taking as backseat as possible, or legally permissible, let's put it that way. Anything else? Any other questions from the board? Do you have anything else? We already talked about it earlier, but it was not on the agenda because the meeting was coordinated after the agenda was out. but I just want to officially just make sure that everybody knows that there is a PAC meeting on the 7th at 5 p.m. It has been sent to all of the PAC members and sent by first-class mail to those members that do not have email, and it will also be up on the town sign. And I'm sure our newspaper friends will put it in the paper, so just want to make sure it's out there.
And we thank Ron Blackton for volunteering to be on the
Thanks,
PAC
Bob.
committee. Okay, is there any other board business from the board? None, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you, have a good night.